Okay. Our first one is shadow. All right. So we're in the skits, plays, setting the stage, skits, plays, and more. I don't really have notes for this one. I'm going to be forwarding these slides and kind of thinking of the thoughts that I have. So hopefully you're happy with just getting little bits and pieces thrown at you, and then you can like rearrange them in the right order in your mind. Okay. All right. Forward. Play or skit, or somewhere in between. Okay. What's the difference? I don't know. The play has sound effects, lights, scripts to memorize, costumes to put on, so forth. Skit. Oh, we got to do a skit next Sunday? Okay, we're going to grab any old thing and put the hat on, put the scarf on, and here we go. So we're going to, that's kind of how we're going to differentiate. This plays are maybe a little longer, full length, a little more detail, more like a production, where I'll call a skit. And I like to do as combination ones as well, where it's a combination skit and puppet show. Those are fun too. So forward, I'm just going to, okay, the first one, my daughter Kim wrote this one, and I borrowed it. It's nice when they come up with stuff now. I used to give them ideas, and now they give me, and I have to borrow back. So just go forward. The first part of the skit, she made the bakery backdrop. We couldn't get the slide thing to show the crisp, good colors, but this is a really bright bakery backdrop. And the blow-up donut, I believe she just got one of those pool toys. And we had the first part, I used the boy, put an apron on him, and we had the song, Life Without Jesus is Like a Donut. My heart has a hole in it. I can't remember that. Life without Jesus is like a donut, like a donut, like a donut. Life without Jesus is like a donut. There's a hole in one heart. So we can kind of sing that song, talked about that a little bit. Now forward. Then we did the recipe skit. And we were supposed to be making chocolate chip cookies, but Mama Maria, the one on the far left, had a better idea. She wanted to make it without a recipe. And of course it was silly and had a lot of, I said put oil, and she said, you mean motor oil? Oh no. Vegetable oil. Well, all I have is Italian dressing. Let me see, it has oil in it. She starts to dump, wait, doesn't it have vinegar in it? Yeah, but vinegar's good for you. You know, and it was just along those lines, back and forth. I kind of wrote out the whole thing so that we can go back and forth. And by the end, that stuff was ugly. By the time she threw whole eggs in there, you just said 3 eggs. You didn't say cracked eggs, and so forth. We got the skit going, and the kids looked at it. They said, "Ew, yuck!" And
so you had a bowl, and
we had the bowl. We were really pouring that stuff in there, and the kids just grossed out. But at the end, we talked about, shouldn't we follow a recipe? Shouldn't we do it right? Well, some people read their Bible, but they don't know the recipe for salvation. We always want to put Acts 2:38, so that's our recipe where we led it to. We want to follow the Bible recipe for salvation, not our own way, right? A lot of people say, I'm going to do it my own way. I want to follow the Bible way. That's where that's get led to. Okay, so next, then we did the donut monster, which was also the first original idea was mine as far as putting a puppet in a box and having a fake arm. But then Kim had the idea of making it into a donut monster, so she had a donut box, and the arm on the right is not the hand on the right is not my hand. It's a stuffed hand glued to the box, right? There's a hole in the back. And this is my real hand. This is not my real hand, but when you look at it, it does look like I'm holding it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Well, then when the donut monster pops out, then where did he come from? So that's, the kids really enjoy stuff like that. I actually had a student one time come to me after class after using one of my puppets like that and looking at me. And then I said, what are you doing? She thought I had 3 arms. Okay. All right, forward. Okay, so now we're going to just move on to a little play. And now I'm not the one that does our huge Easter productions at our church, but I do the Christmas ones, which are a little more than a skit. They're a little more of a play. Go on, we did one in 2010 called The Way of Love, and you can see the artistic greatness of my backdrop that I'm not. Okay, so, but we have full costumes, we have the soldiers. One thing I really like when you're doing a play or a skit is always have announcements. That brings everybody's attention. So they, of course, these soldiers had an announcement. I can't remember. I think it was everybody has to go pay their taxes in wherever they were born. So what were so that one had costumes. You get, oh, and I wanted to say about that, you can get costumes from Oriental Trading, all kinds of places. Get those little helmets like that. You don't have to spend a lot of money on things like that. It doesn't always have to be the best of the best to get your point across. They did look like soldiers. Some of that was we do have a full room full of costumes at our church because we do so many plays. But if you need to, just use sheets and so forth. Well, okay, this is still part of that play. The play was, we all, different people came to the inn. Various people were gathering at this inn. I was the mother-in-law. Terrible. And so I was the mother-in-law of the innkeeper and his, so we had a lot of funny back and forth between me and the innkeeper, me being the mother-in-law, and he moved me out of my room to a different room because his inn was too full and gave me the bad room. And then he took the servants' room and he gave me the servants' room and he gave the rich man the good room. Then he's out of rooms. Why? Because Mary and Joseph need a room, right? And so it's got to be full. So we were putting the point across that the inn was full. So then the Roman soldier was there to add to the dialogue and the rich man. Pay forward. Of course, a lot of the plays I like to do, we start with humor. I'm just one of those that I just like humor. So we do have some humor throughout our plays, even if they're a serious play. But we always like to end it up with serious. And we've had people at the altar praying, even though we did some humor in the beginning of a play, and we brought it down to more touching, serious end. So we had the birth of Jesus, and then the next one shows us all gathered looking at baby Jesus. And here we would probably put some nice, good background music. The one thing about plays, that's one of my favorite parts, is trying to find the music that goes in between the scenes because it sets the mood for what's coming along in the next scene. Anything else on top? Okay, go ahead. Okay, so I think I said it in the other class. I was, for a while after my 20 years of teaching Sunday school, in one room, I went into what we call the skit class, and we just like to goof around, so we made these little suitcases. We called ourselves the World Traveling Puppeteers. But what we would do, we would go from class to class and do skits and puppet shows and sing and so forth, just to make it something different. We were different than their regular teachers, so we brought a little excitement that week. Next, we even went in the adult class. This was the adult class. There was no kids in this class. It was the adult main sanctuary class. They kept saying, why don't you come do it for us? So we did. And look at the next one. I just had to show you this one. That's Elder Morton. He was getting into it with us. I saw that picture, so I have to show that one. Okay, so he was wearing one of our hats. Okay, so this is a thing that we did. We have a Christian school, and so we have to share classrooms. Probably a lot of you have that situation. So your Sunday school class is shared. So you can't really do much. But in the summer, we had this extra room that wasn't being used as a Sunday school room every week. We took control of that room, and we would do skits in that room, and we would bring the kids to us rather than us going to them. And we made a little schedule. One week it would be, the 5-year-olds, the 3 or 4-year-olds, and we would have a little schedule all throughout the summer, and each week we would do the same skit, but it would be a different class. And that was a lot of fun. The very first one we did was Jungle, and we decorated the whole room into really green. You can't see the colors that well, but green everywhere. And we welcomed the kids in, and we wrote a skit. And this skit wasn't a Bible story; it was Bible allegory. Keep going. There's Trusty Sam. He's the one that gives her the map. This skit was called Christy Ann Goes to the King's Kingdom. Christy Ann is spelled like Christian. And he's Trusty Sam. He's like the preacher that tells you to read your map. There you go. And there's Christy Ann. She's asking him how to get there, and he says, you follow this map exactly. And of course we had some puppets, I don't see them up, the bird puppets, and they were telling her stuff about the King's Kingdom, how great it was. And so that's, we combine the skits with puppets. Next, there she is, looking at her map. She's going along. Oh yeah, this is the right way. There's the fork in the road. And she picked up a fork. We like to throw stuff like that in there for the teachers. They like to laugh too, so. The kids didn't get it, but the teachers loved it. Okay, in our first skit that we had, this was the very first summer skit we ever did. We came up with this character based on those old melodramas. I don't know if you've ever seen those melodramas where there's a villain and a hero and so forth. His name was Shady Blackheart. And that's before, after the skit after this, he started putting this little duct tape beard. But anyway, he's got this device that is really colorful and goes round and round, and he said, "You're using that old map? That's old-fashioned. You should use my trusty direction machine." And the little snake, he's called Sneaky Snake, he's his assistant, and he says, "Oh, that's your distraction machine, huh? Shh, no, he doesn't know how to pronounce things. That's the direction machine. Follow this, forget the map. That's old fogey stuff." And we're trying to, at the end, we're explaining that's the Bible. A lot of people in the world, they think the Bible is old-fashioned and they want to do it the flashy way. So anyway, he talks her into getting that and finding her way. And of course, she sits down and gets lost, and those birds found the map, and they said, "What's wrong?" and gave her the map, and she got back on her way. Now we had the King's Kingdom hidden behind a tree because I wanted it to appear. Like I said in the last class, how? Don't say, "Can I do it?" Say, "How can I do it?" How can I have a King's Kingdom come appear later? So we hid it behind a tree, a two-part tree, and then we opened up the tree, and there's all this colorful. You can't tell the colors in this slideshow, but they're very, very colorful. So she said, "I know the King's Kingdom is around here somewhere. Where is it?" And the kids, we didn't even tell them that was the King's Kingdom. They knew. They said, "It's behind you. Look." And so you see someone's hand pointing. And then we bring out that you need to follow the map, the Bible map, to get to heaven. The King's Kingdom is heaven. We're a Christian. We need to follow. Are we going to let that old slimy devil like Shady Blackheart talk us into using some distraction machine? No. Okay, let's keep. Okay, the next year we did ocean. So each year we changed it up. We did this, I believe, 6 years. We made a different. That's the SS Heavenbound ship. There's Simon Peter's bait shop. We had a little Dutch puppet there. His name was Simon Peter. Next, we decorated every single side of the class so that you could get the full experience of being near the beach. And then we put these tape lines on the floor so that we could line the kids up and sit on the floor, and the teacher sat in the back on the chairs. Please can't do that. Okay. We had the Acts 238 lighthouse, which is red and white. Oh, it's black in this picture. And the Crab Shack, which we had a snack halfway through the skit. The crab, Mr. Crab puppet gave him a snack. Kitty. And we had Shady Blackheart in this one as well. So that's the, I can't remember the Captain Goodheart. He's also like the pastor. Keep going. There's old Shady Blackheart and his assistant Mo the pirate. And we had a lobster puppet and a shark puppet, and they were Meanie, Miney, and Mo were the assistants. Mo was the pirate that's standing behind Shady Blackheart. So the kids looked like they were having a good time. Well, here's another thing. We decided our skit went from outside looking at the ocean to being under the ocean. How could we do that? We had some fluorescent lighting going all the way across the room. We taped little paper clips all across, and I had, well, move the thing in. I'll try to see. We used the dollar store hamper, opened them up, and made kind of a, go to the next, or wait, next, I guess, there it is. Okay, we used tablecloths and these, and it looked really cool in person because we used kind of the hanging fish with strings, kind of like marionettes. I've never used marionettes, but the fish were all going through there, and our skit was about finding the treasure, the Bible treasure. So we went from outside to underneath the sea, and you
released them?
The fish.
The blue.
Were they tied up and then you release them and let them go?
What's that?
Your hanging
curtain
wall.
Oh.
It wasn't there before.
No, what it was on some long sticks, and we rolled it up and put it in the corner. Then we unrolled it, and we hung it on those little paper clips.
Is that while they were doing their snacks?
Oh, and that was while they were doing their snacks. They were distracted with Mr. Crab and the snacks, and we were passing out the snacks. And while we were doing that, we hung that. We moved some of that other stuff out of the way and hung that across.
How did your fish swim across?
And then we had a half wall in the back so you could hide yourself. And we put the backdrop, which you could, I don't remember if I brought it, but you could put like a backdrop of other fish on the background. And then we had strings tied to the fish, and the people that you couldn't see them because they were behind here. And this is the only part the kids could actually see through was the mesh. And we began to swim the fish around. And a lot of times we use sound effects as well. We might have had bubbling sound or underwater sound. And it gave them effect of that we were underwater now rather than above. And so just, like I said, use any method available to create an effect. For skits, another thing that this could be used for, and even plays, is if you ever have like one of those flashback scenes, it's kind of like a dream or a flashback, put some sort of mesh, whether it's material you can see through, and have the scene happen with the spotlight on it. It gives it a dreamy feeling, like it's back in the background, like it's something that happened a long time ago. I've seen that done before as well with this type of materials. So keep going. So I don't have time here. Okay, the next year we did the Western theme, Happy Heart Town, and we were saving up our Bible verse gold nuggets in the Happy Heart Bank so that we could go on the Gloryland train to Gloryland. Okay, keep going. Wanted Shady Blackheart. Now poor John changed roles every time. First he was Sneaky Snake, then he was Mo the Pirate, now he's Slimy Jim. And Shady Blackheart remains the same. And they were trying to sell us secret ingredient nectar. And it said S-I-N on the bottle. So and we were not falling for that. They were the shady guys. And so then go to the next one. This one I like. I have to show this. The Cowboys. Okay, here he is trying to sell us that secret ingredient nectar. Go next. The sheriff showed up and his helpers, and they had holsters, which I got from the dollar store. I think it's for tools or something. And we found the littler Bibles, and they each had a Bible in their holster. That's awesome. And they came out, and Slimy Jim and Shady Blackheart, and they had go back. Can you go back one? They were trying to pretend like their name was Sunny Brightheart, and the sheriff pulled that. It was on Velcro. Pulled those off, and you're none other than Shady Blackheart. And so they went running, and they said, then Peter said unto them, repent and be baptized, every one of you. Anyway, and they were starting to, we don't, we hate that, and they left. But there's a lot more to the story. I can't tell it all. So it was a fun one that we did. Go to the next. Then we couldn't get the youth to come into that tiny little classroom, so we had to take our skit to them. So that's what we did here with that Happy Heart Town skit. We actually took the skit. We actually wrote a couple little more scenes in it to make it a little longer and took it to them. And I got to use my donkey in this. Yeah. We had an old prospector, and the donkey got to stick his head out, and I was like, oh, yeah. Here they are looking for the Shady Blackheart. Oh, in this one, Slimy Jim was dressed as a cactus because he was trying to get the map to the gold mine away from one of the cowboys, and Shady Blackheart was hiding in the rock, and one of the cowboys woke up and woke everybody up and said, wake up! And I think their names were Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the cowboys, and said, Do rocks have feet? Go back to sleep. You're dreaming. And so the next time he woke up, wake up, wake up. Oh, I suppose you're going to say do cactus have feet, right? Well, I was. But anyways, we had a little silly time, and he stole the map. They tried to blow up the mine, but they weren't able to. And of course, the guys were able to get their gold nuggets. And on the back of the gold, we just got rocks and covered them with shiny gold paper. And on the backs were Bible verses, and they began to read all the good Bible verses that we want to tell the kids. Hear, O Israel, Lord our God's one Lord. And anyways, they began to read the Bible verses. And the next one will show that they put. Oh, they're singing the song that I made, and those guys are in jail. And when I made up the song, that's one thing I was going to bring up in the other class is if you have a lesson that you're teaching and you want to bring something home to let them remember, think of any old song and make up words to it that already has a tune. For example, I didn't get time in the other one, but when you're teaching about the 10 lepers, I made up a song, 1 little, 2 little, 3 little lepers, 4 little, 5 little, 6 little lepers, 7 little, 8 little, 9 lepers, 10 lepers healed that day. Only one said, thank you, Jesus. Only one said, thank you. So just make up something. On this one, we decided it was cowboyish, so we did it to home on the range. Here in the church, where we read the Bible and pray, our hands we will raise as we give Jesus praise, and His word we will learn to obey. Just think of a song, just start putting a poem to it, and it makes it fun. Okay, next. Then we did the forest one. They were on their way to the Solid Rock Camp to hear about the One God message. I can't remember what we called the message, but that's why they went to the Solid Rock Camp. And let's skip through some of these. For time's sake, I'm going to skip. Why I showed this picture is those clock houses that you saw in the Western theme. We like to use those. Those are very versatile for our puppet group and skate group because we use them. This particular one, we're using it on Palm Sunday as Jerusalem. So go to the next. I dressed up the kids, and they each had the palm leaves, and I put a little scarf on, and I began to direct. They're not going to be able to memorize lines but you can direct them on what to do as you're teaching the lesson. But we had that as a Jerusalem backdrop. Then another time on one of our Christmas plays, we used it as a Bethlehem backdrop. So those houses kind of came in handy, whatever we made them for the first time.
Are those PVC with curtains?
And those are, thank you for saying that. PVC pipe, of course, but we made these years ago. They're stands that are made out of paint cans with cement, and the bottom, I think it's about 3 feet, 2 feet, is permanently in there, and the top is separate so we can store it, and they're screwed in, and the top, this one is one of those T connectors that's been cut so that we can just, usually we really anchor it down if we're going to do a puppet show or a skit so it won't fall off, but I didn't tape it today. But so that's where we usually get some sort of framework and hang those houses to make a backdrop. One thing, I don't know if I brought it. I think it's in the other bag. Right before I left town, I got this in the mail. It's a shower curtain. I might have pictures of it up here. They actually sell shower curtains with a really cool backdrop picture on them, so I decided to buy one and see what it looked like. Okay, keep going. That's another Bethlehem. Okay, then we did, this one is about Zacchaeus, and the reason I'm showing you is we did some special effects with the visual. That's just part of Zacchaeus. Made a PVC pipe, of course, and it's a PVC pipe and a little bit of an L right here, and then the sock that's stuffed into my husband's Easter sandals that he couldn't find one Easter, and later, after he bought them, I found them in the closet. I said, oh yeah, I remember. What happened to your Easter sandals? He wanted to be a character in the Easter play. So keep going. So John, the one in the middle that played all those other parts, I said, he's very tall, as you see. Keep going. Now he's very short, because he's going to be Zacchaeus. And that's just him trying it on so it doesn't look that great. here he is when in our play, and we took this all over. We took this to various classes and to one of our branch works. This was a lot of fun. We had David was his assistant, and I don't know if you've seen those guys on the corner. And so he had his sign, and he was doing the pay taxes here. You know, and all that stuff. He had, instead of the Liberty hat, he had like a leaf thing on his head. So, and so we had various characters. That's the same guy that played Steve Blackheart, but he had to be Jesus and this guy because we didn't have enough people. So sometimes you have to do dual parts. So we put big beard on, one of those clip-on beards, and he was the first man that came out to pay his taxes. He was the businessman, and he got so mad at being cheated, he said, "You can't even stand up when you tell me that." And his assistant moved the box and said, "I'll have you know he is standing up." I think we have that on the next. So that one was a fun one. I had some kids come after and go, "How did he do that?" So a little bit further. So we had, that's a sad picture because Mark Tracy was in our skit class and he's been gone on to be with the Lord, but he was one of our favorite characters in these plays. In fact, we never knew what he was going to say. So you ended up laughing when you weren't supposed to. And so they were, so I might be able to do this, so let me just get this on really quick. On this one, go to the next. So we had him, Zacchaeus, we'd open that curtain, and he was going to go to sleep. His wallpaper was money, as you've seen, and we even took a picture of him, and you can only see it on the top of his feet, but he had a picture of his own self up there, you know, just to try to make it funny that he was kind of. So this is how we did it. Each of us characters that had to come out and pay our taxes, we had a set line we had to say. We could ad-lib a lot of it, but we had a set line we must say during that part. And this is why. Let me see if you can.
Zacchaeus, I don't know how you got to be so evil. You are the most dishonest tax collector in Israel. You are nothing but a cheater. You are a very bad man. You've taken everything from us. Zacchaeus, I don't know how you got to be so evil. You are the most dishonest tax collector in Israel. You are nothing but a cheater. You are a very bad man. You've taken everything from us. Zacchaeus, I don't know how you got to be so evil.
And of course, we kind of ran it until it got more scarce. So anyway, we have a man that makes these audio for us. He's very good at it. So then the next scene, we got to talking about the goodness of Jesus and all the miracles he could do. Well, we didn't know it, but Zacchaeus was spying on us during that time, peeking out his little curtain. And this was a different, well, this was a different, a little bit later. But so he had another, well, when he went back to sleep, after that first dream, he woke up and he remembered some other stuff that he had heard during the day.
It seems like there's something special about this Jesus. The Savior that can even forgive sins. I wonder if he can even forgive the sins of that cheater Zacchaeus.
And so he was remembering in his dream the things he overheard us saying both times. The bad things, and the second part of the dream, when he went back to sleep, was about Jesus. So now we're at the parade part where Jesus is coming. He can't see because I'm blocking his way. So go to the next. And so this is when we took it to Belmont Church, over our branch church, up on their platform. But here he is, hiding in the tree. And the letter had to play Jesus. Okay. So then Jesus came visit, and of course you know the story, and he changed his life. So, okay. Now, let's move on. We just have a little bit left. So I'll talk about the time machines. That's my current projects lately, Brother Lackey, since he's been our pastor. They used to do time machine plays over at where he used to pastor at. So he asked me one time to do Noah's Ark. And so I did that one. I didn't bring pictures of that. That one was a fun. But this is going to be a picture of the time machine. That's the front. And the next one, the sides. That is not made by me. You can tell right there. A girl, lady in our church, is very artistic and made that for us. So we bring it out and we go back in time to the Bible, whatever it might be. So the first one we did was we brought all the kids into the main sanctuary and we do the time machine skits or plays. And Sister Pam Gregg, if you know her from our church, she's the professor that gets to take people on the trip. And you can have royal entrance music, spotlight on the king. I do a lot of this. A lot of my Bible Days backdrops are covered with black cheap tablecloths at first, so the kids don't see the Bible Days. In the beginning, all they see is the time machine. Then, on a distraction note, I like to use spotlights as a distraction for the audience. So we had the king and the two princes coming in. The princes were very funny, trying to be the closest one to the king as they came in, and wrestling with each other to see who would be the first one next to the king. While that spotlight was shining on them, we were over there ripping down the black curtains so that when the main lights come back on, wow, we went from modern days to now we're back in the Bible days. So there's my distraction. There's the king. We had the royal music going. We had the rise. Okay, so really quickly, I was going to play the music, but you guys know royal music. So this is my throne room in a bag. I made this little throne room at home because I didn't have a throne and I didn't really have a place to store one, so I made it out of what, class? Okay, so, and pool noodles, spray painted gold, and for an added funny effect, I put the lids of the spray cans on the front. And then I wrapped it all, after I got it all ready, I got it all uncooked, and all you need to add to it is a chair, like a folding chair. And so I put it in my bag and I was able to take it, and we had our Daniel time machine play. So that was the Daniel one going on the screen. There they are. This was when we were still practicing. This picture doesn't have all the backdrop ready yet, but this was at practice. They're listening to see if Daniel's been praying on his spine. Then they're going to go tattle. Oh, there's a picture of my donkey on that one play. Had to fit him in there somewhere. That was the play that we wrote with a little boy that was a shepherd. Okay, I haven't talked about my camel, have I? Okay, camel. All right, that's one of those, not can I do this, it's how can I do this. My girls know that I get OCD on stuff. I really wanted a camel. I really wanted one. This was about 8 or 9 or 10 years ago. I finally just said, I'm going to make one camel costume. This is 2 boys under there. I'm always on the lookout. The boys better be aware of me around November because I'm eyeing them to see who's the right height. Those guys. Hey guys. So it's a bucket from the dollar store. The plastic, I cut holes, put a see-through mesh over it that they put on their head. They can actually see, or they're not going to not know where they're going.
They're the humps?
They're in the humps. They're the humps. The one in the back is, you probably can't see very well, but the one in the front can see very well. And the neck is made of, right? Okay. So, and the lightweight one, not the heavy ones. And I made his face. I stared at camel pictures for days and months trying to figure out how to make a camel because I'm not artistic. I found a big, huge blanket that was just the right color at the thrift store, so I cut it up just to see if I could do it. I didn't tell anybody until I did it because I was like, they're going to laugh at me. But I had a box, cut holes in the top. So the boys, all they have to do, and at first, this year, you'll see, put the next picture. I was very upset when I saw a picture later because they did not wear the right pants that I told them to wear. They wore some gray colored pants. And I said, wear camel or... So I bought some, what do you call them, sweatpants for them from now on. They wear those. But I remember this was the first year we used them, and this young man, he loved it. He liked it so much, he went out and made a Christmas card out of it himself. But the kids had a great time. He's a great distraction when you need a distraction. I put him way in the back when you enter the church. The spotlight's on him, the music. Here comes the camel. Someone's pulling him in. Meanwhile, over here, we're doing whatever we need to do, and we don't want anybody to know what we're doing. And as they come up, all the kids are focused on the camel as he goes across. So we've used him quite a lot. But what it is, the one in the front has his arm through the neck, and he's holding, so I have to remind them to hold it up high so his head looks like the right height. And I said to the guys that are pulling him, don't pull so hard, I don't want you to pull his head off right in the middle of the play. Okay, so keep going. You see his head's too low. Okay. Oh, then we combine puppetry with our Christmas play sometimes. If we don't use a real dressed up angel as a person, we might use it for puppet. We have our angels on a stick. We didn't have enough angel puppets, so we just did angels on a stick. And we did have a real angel that year, a person, and he directed the angel choir. That was a lot of fun. Let's see, how much time? Yeah, we're almost out of time. So this is a backdrop that was made out of painter's canvas that John, the one that played the slimy Jim, he's a good artist, and he made a backdrop of Bethlehem Hills for me. And so that's a good way to do backdrops, is get those big painter's canvas drop cloths and paint on those. Those are nice. There's the shower curtain that I bought. Got it in there. So let's see what else is on there. That's what we want right there. We want kids that are totally focused, right? Laughing, smiling. That's what we want. Attention. So any questions? I know you might have some questions. I think, did you say I go till 20 after? Yeah. So, okay.
How long does it take you to build a backdrop?
You mean like to paint it, or?
To paint it, to build it, to cut out all the stuff, the windows?
It depends how elaborate you want it. You know, I mean, if you want it into detail, for him to paint that one, I'm sure it took him weeks, at least a week to get that and buy the paint and do all that. The ones that we use, those cloth houses, we make those and we fold them up, and when we need a city, recently I had her make 2 more so that we could widen our city, but they're just simple little window, door. We thread them through the curtain rods and hang them up. So it's pretty quick on those. On the more permanent ones that you're going to put on boards and so forth, that's of course going to take a lot longer to set up. But the setup time could be very quick. So,
is your spotlight an actual spotlight, or is it something that created?
our church has a spotlight. Yeah, and it's nice to have. I mean, they're expensive though, but it's nice. I noticed that in the Rialto Church in their Sunday school, they have a nice little spotlight. It adds. What's that?
Craigslist sometimes.
Okay, and that adds a lot to their little skits that they do, just shining that spotlight on there. So I have a lot. I just had a lot to bring back. Like I said, the time's not there. But when you're out at the dollar store, just keep your mind open to the possibilities. You know, this was kind of one of those garden things that you get at the dollar store to divide up your garden. This was what I made the throne out of, the top part. It was just sprayed gold. I have an idea for some of these to make like a guardhouse or something, maybe on one of those where one of the men in the Bible's in prison. But it kind of looks more official, like a jail or something, on the top of a brick wall. I had my friend paint on this tablecloth really quick just for this seminar, so it's brand new. She just did half, just to show that it used to be a tablecloth, but now it's going to turn into something, whether it's a well or a wall or whatever that we might want to use it for. So it's not something that takes a really long time unless you're really into the art stuff. Then you would want to allow yourself a lot. But just tablecloths, whatever you want to do. Is that?
Another thing that we did is we used to paint on sheets. And then it just goes right through the top there.
Right, you make a
casing.
casing.
And then you just fold it up. And
Right, and that's all this is just the casing here at the end. And we use these for puppet backdrops as well. I have a shorter one back here for the puppet class that later, but we put the taller one in the back and the shorter one in the front. It makes it for a really easy, quick setup of a puppet show as well. You could even narrow it if you only have a little bit of room in your classroom. So they're you can use them all over for stuff. People borrow these stands all the time for wedding backdrops and everything. We're always having someone borrow them.